Coming up, it's 11 and heaven as Jamie Vardy breaks records at Leicester City. Elsewhere, Napoli continuing the title hunt as Higuain impresses again. And the MLS Cup, the final is announced. But who will walk away with the silverware? All that and more on today's Football Hipsters podcast. All right! Hello and welcome to the Football Hipsters podcast. I am your host Kris and I'm joined by 4 of our Football Hipsters this evening. Introducing to you first, making his return, he's had a week off, bless him, it's Danny. Good evening, Danny.
Hello Kris, it's a pleasure to join you 3 today for this wonderful show.
Thank you very much. Also joined by John. Good evening, John.
Evening, Kris.
And by Tom. Good evening, Tom.
Good evening.
And by Drew. Good evening, Drew.
Good evening, guys.
Right, so we have got plenty to get through this evening, so we will not waste a moment. Let's get straight on with our first segment, which as always is the Mighty 90. Okay, so the Mighty 90, we are going to start this week with... Oh, let's start with Danny, shall we? Why not? Because, Danny, you've been away too long. So, you're going to cover Peterborough for us. So, let's put our 90 seconds on the clock. And your Mighty 90 begins now.
Oh, thank you very much, Kris. Righto, the mighty Peterborough. I've been telling you people all season that Peterborough are going to do absolute wonders, and the wonders have begun. They are now on a wonderful run. They recently went away to Scunthorpe United and spanked them 4-0 with a hat-trick from Connor Washington and a penalty from Michael Bostwick, who is one of my favourite players at the club at the moment. That's now 5 straight wins, including League and Cup games, and they have scored 17 goals in those 5 games, which is fantastic. They are now the league's top goal scorers, and they have scored an astounding 46 goals in 20 games. That is the stuff that Dreams is made of. Also, they are up to 6th in League One, or as the French call it, Ligue 1. And then they are in the playoff spot at last, and they're only 6 points behind the leaders. And we have the second best goal difference, which is lovely. It's like watching Peterborough of the early noughties when they got promoted in 2009 and then again in 2011. I think once we were runners-up the other time we won the playoffs. Next up is Luton Town in the FA Cup, another easy win. Put your money on a 5-0 win and old Connor to get a hatful. With their next 2 league games being against teams at the bottom of the league, or around about the bottom of the league and having bad runs, Blackpool and I think it's Shrewsbury, and they're the 2 teams we're going to be playing next. So I expect us to be top by Christmas, and the new manager is doing absolutely wonders, and the owner of the club, Darren McAnthony, has said he's spending more time with the managers than he is with his own wife, and she thinks he's having an affair.
Oh, that's your time. Perfectly done. Perfectly done. Thank you. Interesting piece of personal information. I love it.
He did come out and said it in the paper. He said his wife's suspicious.
I'm not disputing you. Of course, jokingly, yes. Allegedly. Right, okay, on to the next one. Drew, let's find out how Feyenoord are getting on. Let's restart my stopwatch, and your Mighty 90 begins now.
Well, Kris, still getting along very well. They only had to travel to the east side of the city, and they ran out 4-2 winners at city rivals Excelsior and the Rotterdam Derby. Michel Kramer bagged a hat-trick, and Dirk Kuyt also netted again. His was actually the opener, which is just 2 minutes into the match. Both of Excelsior's goals actually came late in the halves. Daryl Van Meegem actually cut the scoreline to 2-1 in the 44th, and Tom Van Vert cushioned the blow in the 86th. It's worth noting that Van Vert also struck the bar on 29 minutes, so if he actually converted that, he would have restored parity at 1-1, so it could have been a different match entirely. Feyenoord's triumvirate of Elia, Kramer, and Kuyt continued to play well together on the whole. Simon Gustafsson again featured quite well, and Rick Karsdorp bagged 2 assists. The result sees Feyenoord remain second on 32 points, but because both Ajax and PSV ran out winners in their fixtures, there's no change in the outlook of the top 3. So it's Ajax on 35 points, Feyenoord on 32, PSV on 31. Tricky fixture next week. We host 4th place Heracles Almelo, which is actually surprising that they're even that high to begin with. Not a side you can really take lightly at the moment. And after that, Kuyt is 2 behind Luc de Jong. Kuyt has 13 goals, Luc de Jong has 11. So things are going well. Looking forward to maybe getting into Champions League next season.
Oh, and you can finish. Oh, you finished 10 seconds early there, Drew. It's always, you're always so early. You're always so early. It's fine though. We got the gist. Thank you very much. So good he can do it in 80 seconds. That's what we say. Right then, Tom, you are up next. So your Mighty 90 begins now.
So, just like with Drew, it was also a derby. It was a Salzburg derby this weekend. Red Bull Salzburg travelled the 12 kilometres down to Grödig, a small town in the area of the Salzburg area. Soriano put us 1-0 up, as he always does, in the 15th minute, with a fine header from a little free kick that was flicked in, and that will be his 12th goal in 13 games. Unfortunately, then Razna then equalised for Grödig in the 55th minute with an easy finish. Really poor defending allowed Grödig to get in, and it was an open goal pretty much for Razna to put in. Both teams had chances to win the game. The score could and should have been much higher if not for really good goalkeeping from both sides and some quite poor finishing in some cases. The draw means that Salzburg went to the top of the league on goal difference, with Austria Vienna's inevitable win on Sunday. But they didn't win. SV Ried pulled off a 4-2 win, which means Salzburg went top of the league, or remained top of the league rather, on goal difference. They now have a midweek fixture against Wolfsberger. That is a home game, so you'd hope for that because they are bottom of the league and their form is pretty poor at the moment. They then go to Mattersburg at the weekend, and then there's only one more game, and then there's going to be a bit of a break from the 1990 because we don't then play till February. So don't really know what's going to happen there, but it will certainly be interesting.
Good stuff, and with a second to spare. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Tom. That's Salzburg. Just the two to go. Let's go to John next for a Gladbach update. John, your Mighty 90 begins now.
Okay. In midweek on Wednesday in the Champions League, if you'd already heard the satchel that we did, little plug from last Thursday, you would know that Gladbach ran out 4-2 winners against Seville. A bit of revenge from the earlier fixture in the competition. Goals from Stindl, Fabian Johnson and Raphael. Puts us in good position now in the group stage in the Champions League. We're now third in the group, so we've got a good chance of getting into the Europa League. Into the weekend's game in the Bundesliga, we played away to Hoffenheim, a team who haven't won or scored a goal under their current manager. That was until this weekend. Things looked fine, taking a nice early lead through Fabian Johnson. Wonderful ball from the Dude, as Magmed Dahoud, as I'm sure everyone's now got used to me calling him. But then Hoffenheim, who hadn't scored a goal for so long, then went on to score 3. A good individual goal from Zuba, but then 2 slightly lucky goals, one from Polanski from a deflected shot, and Amari leapt onto a poor back pass from Lars Stindl to make it 3-1. But things then turned around and we kept our undefeated streak with Joseph Dermich getting his first Bundesliga goal for Gladbach and then a superb solo effort from Fabian Johnson with only a few minutes to spare to snatch a draw. So a decent fight back, disappointing result though, unfortunately, but the streak continues. Still haven't lost under Andre Schubert, just 2 points off Wolfsburg. Unfortunately, next week we have a home game, but it is against Bayern Munich, so the streak may be gone.
Fantastic. Good stuff. Good stuff. That's quite a tricky one to shove 6-goal thriller into a Mighty 90 update.
Yeah.
So well done to you. Okay, just the one to go, and that is moi. So I shall put the clock up, and away we go. So this weekend in Liga, Lorient went to Gazalec Ajaccio at the Stade Angers Casanova. 3,514 watched on. Gazalec, don't forget, we're coming off of 4 straight wins. One of the most informed sides in Europe, which is quite bizarre when you think about it. They went 1-0 up after 18 minutes. Dokovic corner was flicked on by Filippini, the captain, and controlled on his chest and rifled home by Mohamed Labi for 1-0. But Lorient didn't die from a corner on the right. It was a handball given against Mohamed Silla, and Lorient were given the penalty, and up stepped Ligue 1's top goal scorer Benjamin Mokanju, that man again, to fire straight down the middle for 1-1. Second half, both teams went close. Didier Ndong forced a really super save from Goda late on, and Benjamin Junot also rounded the keeper but couldn't force the ball in from a tight angle. And despite both teams really pushing on. There was no winner in the game. So the final score ended up being 1-1. Lorient, their coach, Sylvain Ripoll, after the game was saying that he was disappointed not to win the game, but felt a point was a fair result against one of the informed sides. Lorient are now sitting 9th in Liga on 21 points. They play at home to Nice next weekend. We've talked at length about Nice. They are 6th in Liga currently. And I think it's probably a fair assumption that we're likely to see goals. More on that later. But the two highest scoring sides in Liga will come face to face at Le Moustoir. So we look forward to that next week. So that's our mighty 90s done and dusted for another week. And let's now crack on to the usual whip around Europe's top 5 in the world of football. Okay, so world of football time. This week we are going to start in the Bundesliga.
Jetzt ist Acker! Nachschuss von Müller! Aus dem Stegreif das 1:0 für Deutschland.
Okay, so Bundesliga this week. We're going to change up our format slightly. We figured we just tweak with things and just sort of see how this new approach works. So I'm going to kind of host the segments and go to our relevant hipsters for their information. So Drew, let's start with Werder Bremen 1, Hamburg 3. Werder obviously really struggling for form at the moment, and Hamburg much improved. I don't think they could have got much worse than last week. But yeah, coming away with a 3-1 victory. What was the game like in general, and what sort of notable about any specific performances?
Well, I mean, it's good to see them sort of turn things around. At the moment, I do believe they're the 5th most informed team in the league right now. So 3 wins, 2 draws, and a loss in their last 6 appearances. So they're actually charging the table pretty quickly, which is good for them. But in regards to performances, Bremen are struggling, and Hamburg took advantage of it. They actually played pretty well. The statistics will show that the match is even from a number standpoint, but the play on the field is very, very different. Bremen were happy to sort of sit back and counter when they could. But the possession was a little more even. In regards to how Hamburg played, Ivo Ilisevic was certainly the stand-up performer for them. A lot of the creativity came through him. But the front four, Pierre-Michel Asoga, Nikolai Müller, Mikhail Gregoric, and Ilisevic, they combined very, very well moving forward. And Lewis Holtby is now sort of playing almost that Santi Cazorla role where he's in center midfield, but being that deeper lying creative force. And that's actually working out very well because, we saw him at Spurs play sort of that number 10 role when he played or checked it on one of the wings and didn't really perform well. So the way he's been playing in that sort of new role actually is helping Hamburg unlock defenses more routinely, which is pretty good for them. And he's very, very good in the system that counters. They got 2 early goals in first 30 minutes. That sort of put the result to bed. Bremen had a spell in the second half for about 8 minutes where they got Anthony Uger scored to bring it to 2-1, and then they really sort of built on that, and they came close to scoring, but Nikolai Müller scored in the 69th minute, and that was that. So points for Hamburg, and they're moving on up, which is good for them, considering last season was awful. This is good to see from them.
Yeah, absolutely. One of Europe's sort of most recognisable clubs. Talk to me about Hoffenheim 3, Mönchengladbach 3. Obviously, John's given us the mighty update, so we know what happened. But there was a certain player who's made Team of the Week this week, scoring the 3rd goal for Hoffenheim. Another one off the kind of the German production train. Talk to us about Amiri and just a brief bit about the game.
Well, I kind of like him actually. I haven't seen too much of him, but how we were speaking about it, how last week I was saying that the one thing that Hoffenheim, they need goals, but they also need other sources of creativity. And Amiri at the moment, he's been bringing both. He's been pretty good in his 5 appearances this season so far. He started to, including this weekend, 3 off the bench, but he's got that. I don't know how to explain it. seems like young German midfielders, they know how to impose themselves in matches despite their age. That's something that maybe Hoffenheim has been missing a little bit. They have other midfielders like I mentioned last week, Pierre Schwegler and Eugen Polanski. They're very good in a holding sense, but they needed that sort of the creative and goal scoring threat also in midfield going forward. He brings that for them. And Kevin Volland, he didn't bag a goal, but I think he'll score more now that Amiri is there. In regards to Hoffenheim's overall performance, I would say that the match was actually, it was even up until maybe like 10 minutes left into the first half, and they really went a step above. They got that late first half goal, that early second half goal, and they really had Gladbach kind of sitting back. But Fabian Johnson definitely, I guess he was one at that point. And if not for that, then John would be a little more upset. But no, it's good. It's good for them. Like I said, they need to score goals, but their biggest problem is they need to also not allow so many. 3 at home is what you want, but allowing 3, certainly a late one in the 87th minute, is not what you want to see. So a little bit of work to be done there, but at least they're starting to score a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that goal, a couple of goals, from Fabian Johnson, both crackers, I have to say. Let's move on to Mainz. They're undefeated in the last 4 now, up to 9th. They got a 2-1 win over Eintracht Frankfurt, a game that also saw Alex Meyer pick up his first ever Bundesliga red card. Bit of brief information on that game.
Basically, it's the Yosunori Muto and Yunus Mali show for them, for Mainz right now. Everything in the attacking third is going through those two, plus De Blasis, actually, on the right wing. Those 3, they have a really good understanding with each other, and that's one thing that they're going to need to have continue throughout the season if they're going to actually try to make a European spot. So maybe you wouldn't really expect them to get into top 4, but a 5th or 6th spot would actually suit them. And they have one of those the key asset. Like I said before, with the goal scoring that other clubs who they're around don't have. Muto and Mali are actually the 3rd best goal scoring tandem in the Bundesliga behind, the pair at Bayern and the pair at Dortmund. So that's something that your Schalke, your Leverkusen, your Wolfsburg don't have. So that's kind of an ace in the hole for them. And they should have had a 3rd. Actually, Muto actually spurned a brilliant chance. He missed a sitter that was actually provided by Mali. He shot it wide from about 8 yards away. They also should have had a 4th as well. But a 2-1 will suit them as well. Eintracht Frankfurt, they counted when they can. They actually had quite a few decent chances as well. Haris Seferovic got their only goal. The Social National doing okay right there, but the Meyer red card definitely will hurt them through for sure. But Mainz could be an outsider for like I said, for a 5th or 6th spot. So and then the matches like these are important to pick up points.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to round off the update on the Sunday games, Leverkusen drawing 1-1 with Schalke, and Augsburg playing out a 0-0 draw with Wolfsburg. Much to touch on in either of these 2 games. There were 2 games that I thought we'd get goals and we didn't really get them.
Yeah, honestly, I'll go with the Augsburg-Wolfsburg one first. To be honest with you, Wolfsburg, they're always going to have the lion's share possession in that fixture, but honestly, Augsburg created quite a few chances as well, and actually they created more of the clear-cut goal-scoring chances were created by Augsburg, not by Wolfsburg. They defended pretty well, honestly enough. They were strong in midfield. And this is a match where Augsburg have been struggling. Wolfsburg needed to score goals. They need to keep pace, at least to sort of try to solidify that 3rd place spot behind Bayern and Dortmund. And this is a result they're not going to be happy about. Honestly, a draw is fair, but if anyone were to win this, it should have been Augsburg. So Hecking will take it, but he won't be pleased with the performance for sure. As for Leverkusen Schalke, honestly, it's another one of those. It was a dead even match. Right up into the goals, and then so sorry. And in that sense, Roger Schmidt and Andre Breitenreiter will probably be a little disappointed, especially Breitenreiter. They were on track to get 3 points, and then Sascha Reiter actually had an own goal in 85th, which you could do nothing about. So Schalke won't be happy about it, but Leverkusen will take the point probably, and they try to keep progressing.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a quite comical own goal, actually, wasn't there? That Sasha Rita own goal was quite comical towards the end. Where does that leave the table, Drew? Where's that sort of top 5 and bottom 5? Where are we sitting now?
Well, obviously, I guess, do you want to go through the rest of the results as well, or just sort of?
Yeah. Give us the results.
Well, Bayern won 2-0 at home against Hertha, so Hertha didn't get trounced, which I guess is passing a test because Bayern actually trounced people at home all the time. Darmstadt and Cologne drew 0-0. Hanover actually brought Ingolstadt back to earth and won 4-0 at home. Dortmund ran out 4 winners against struggling Stuttgart, so no surprise there either. Top 5 right now, it's Bayern Munich on 40 points, Dortmund on 32, Wolfsburg on 25, Gladbach and Hertha tied on 23, and Leverkusen, Hamburg, and Schalke tied on 21. Bottom 3 is Augsburg on 10, tied with Stuttgart on 10, and Hoffenheim on 9.
Good stuff, good stuff. And I've asked you all the same question pre-pod. Can you give us one game that our listeners should have a look for next week's Bundesliga?
Oh boy. Honestly, for me, I'd probably go with. Let me remember which one. Who are they playing? I can't recall. Hold on. Oh yeah, Wolfsburg host Dortmund. Wolfsburg have not lost in 29 straight Bundesliga matches, but Dortmund score goals away, especially this season. What's important about this is if Gladbach or Hertha get a win in their next match, they can leapfrog Wolfsburg. Actually, if Gladbach and Hertha both win, Wolfsburg drop down to 5th. So I'm hoping for John that I'll get the 3 points.
I'm praying.
Right. So there you go. Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you. Thank you very much, Drew. Okay, so you can certainly put your feet up a bit as usual. If you have got any questions for Drew, drop him a tweet or the podcast, and we'll be happy to answer them. I know we've got a few in the onion bag later on. So let's move on then. Danny, I'm looking at you as we go to the Premier League.
Manchester City are still alive here. Balotelli, Aguero! I swear you'll never see anything like this ever again!
Oh, thank you very much. I was enjoying that. I do like a bit of German football. That would have been my second choice. Righto. Premier League then, is it? That's the one you want?
Yes, indeed, yeah.
Because that's what I spent all day writing about.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you about something first, if that's all right.
Then, you cheeky monkey.
Cool. Then I'm going to pull out the fire. I'm going to ask you about Bournemouth 3, Everton 3. Where do we start? Talk to me about this game.
Oh dear, right. I'll read my notes that I've made for the game, and then if you want to quiz me after, because I watched it all on Match of the Day on a fantastic site that I found, and I said to the bloke I'd give him a shout, but I can't remember, so I might do it at the end of the show. I've wrote, what an odd game. Everton were 2-0 up with only 10 minutes to go, with goals from Mori, the Argentinian player who is not playing in Mexico, as we found out earlier, and Lukaku. Then Smith scored a stunning right foot volley from outside the box to make it 2-1. I think he'd come on at half time and he was the backup right back. But with less than 3 minutes to go, I want to go Stanislas.
That's right, yeah.
Is it?
Hang on, yeah, very good.
I'm thinking of Roger Stainless. That's not the same bloke.
No, that's the Windows.
Stainless poked the ball in to make it 2-2. But this is when it got interesting. Barkley scored in the 95th minute. That's the 5th minute of injury time. After a goal mouth scramble, and Everton thought the game was all over. And now I did hear that the referee had indicated to the Everton players that as soon as he restarted the game, he would be blowing his whistle, because the fourth official had 5 minutes on his board and 5 minutes of the game had gone. Now, I know you've got to allow, is it 30 seconds per sub and 30 seconds per goal or something like that you add on?
Yeah, as well as fans coming onto a pitch.
Yeah, there was that. There was a few of those who ran on. I think they would just want to get some Kris seeds for Christmas dinner. Anyway, so the 5 minutes are up and Bournemouth rushed down the other end with the ball, and Stanislas scored a 98th minute winner, which is what Man United did against Sheffield Wednesday, where they scored, was it like the 12th minute of injury time or something crazy like that once? It was Fergie time.
Yeah, it was that late, I think.
And that was it. Everton were going mad, but what a stunning game. It was a fantastic game. It just shows you don't ever give up. It was really, really good. I mean, for me, the best part of the whole game was that right back who scored from that
I was just going to say that. You read my mind. Adam Smith with an absolute... And it was one of those that it hit the post and pinged into the other side of the goal, wasn't it? Absolute cracker.
But Everton should have won that. They should have ended 2-0 to Everton.
Yeah, they should have.
If the football gods were not smiling on them. Fighting
spirit, though, from Bournemouth. And speaking of fighting spirit, let's go on to a team that have pretty much none, Newcastle United. They obviously took the lead at Selhurst Park, but fell apart, and Crystal Palace running out 5-1 winners. What did you make of that?
Okay, my notes. Alan Pardew had a point to prove to Newcastle owner Mike Ashley, who was the man who made his life so hard when he was Newcastle manager, and a point he proved indeed. Newcastle started the game well, scoring with a decent header. Then they should have really made it 2-0, but for two good blocks from the Palace defenders who were going up and down like skittles on an ice rink. But then Palace scored with a fluky goal from MacArthur that came off of a Newcastle player. Then... so he's unlucky with that. I mean, partly an own goal, but there's no way that if it wouldn't have come off the Newcastle player, the goalie would have caught it. Then Balassi, who was my man of the match, 3 minutes later, and then Newcastle fell apart, as they have done so many times this season. And Palace scored goals with another one from Zaha, who was a cheeky kind of was it a header or a lob? I can't remember.
The Balassi one.
No, the Zaha one.
Oh, the Zaha one. Do you know what?
Something about the ball, did it wobble in midair?
Yeah. I remember Balassi's with a header,
I saw it 3 hours ago. Well, it seems like a week ago.
You watched so many games.
Then Balassi got his second in injury time, and then in injury time, MacArthur got his second. Balassi was superb, and the shambolic defending from Newcastle after such a good start, because you don't expect to go 1-0 up on the verge of 2-0, end up losing 5-1, do you?
No, certainly not. Let's also briefly give some love to Sam Allardyce. 2-0 victory over Stoke City. Ryan Shawcross sent off. That changed that game, didn't it? 2 late goals getting the winners.
Did, yeah. But it seems like the magic man, Big Sam, is working his usual magic at Sunderland. That's now 3 wins out of their last 5 Premier League games, and in all 3 of those wins, they've not let in a single goal. I hate to think whoever they're playing next, they're probably going to beat them. Anyway, Stoke were in trouble just after half-time when Shawcross got his second yellow card, which I think that's the 3rd time in his career he's got a double yellow, and he's also had 3 straight reds in his career. Sent off for when I was looking at it. It didn't really look like that much of an offence. Now, considering he was already on a yellow card, it was iffy. I saw 3 replays of it from different angles, and you still couldn't tell whether he got the ball first or whether he got the man first or both at the same time. Now, if you're already on a yellow, you would have hoped the referee wouldn't have sent him off for a second bookable, but he did. So not much you can do about that. Van Arnholt scored in the 82nd minute when from a free kick. That was it. Yeah, they right hand side of the box, took a free kick, passed it sideways, and Van Arnholt set fire to it, stuck a rocket on it, and put it in the bottom right-hand corner. There's no way anybody was stopping that without losing a limb. So I reckon that's from about 30 yards out. Hell of a goal. 2 minutes later, Duncan Watmore, who is about to get his degree next week, so they're saying on Match of the Day, took on 2 Stoke defenders and an attacking from the right-hand side, which is really weird, because if you're going to attack from the right-hand side, you very rarely put it in, but he put it into the bottom left-hand corner. So it went between the 2 defenders, around the front of the goalkeeper, swerved in bottom left-hand corner, where normally you'd expect him to go near post. So that's a good goal, and that's taken Sunderland out of the relegation zone, which is nice to see, because I do like Sunderland. I also like Newcastle, and I don't like Stoke.
It's no. I was going to say who does, but I didn't mean to be so mean. I have to remember we're going to be impartial.
Which is why I said Sunderland will win their next game. I don't know who they're playing, but Sunderland will beat them.
Of course you don't. I'm sure everyone else is nodding going, yeah, of course you don't. 2 other games I want to pick up on before we leave England. Aston Villa 2, Watford 3. More trouble for Remy Gard. Villa slipping again. Watford, they just keep winning. What's your thoughts on this one?
It's a really interesting game. Another ding-dong of a match. Watford scored with a very jammy goal from Ighalo. Is that how you say his name?
Yes.
There you go. Wait till I got the Denmark bit coming up. I actually went onto Google and Googled how do you say the team's name. And then I wrote down phonetically. Anyway, the ball hit a defender, hit the goalie, hit a defender, hit a Watford player, and then another defender, and then bounced back out for him to tap it in from about 2 inches out, which is more more pinball than football. Then is it Mika Richards? It's not, is it?
Yes, yeah, it is. Yeah,
is he the captain?
Yep.
Because that's it. They were moaning about the old tactics team brought in 2 ex-England defending has-beens.
Yes,
Mika Richards. I quite rate Mika Richards. Right back, isn't he?
Well, he was, but he's playing centre-half for Villa now, yeah.
Getting slow. That's why they're having to put him there. He's an Arsenal fan as well, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
For bless his socks. Can't stand Arsenal fans. So he scored with a header from a free kick that looked a little bit offside. I think it was definitely offside. Watford then scored with an unlucky own goal from the nicest man in football, Hutton, who looks like he chases horses and touches them inappropriately,
Oh.
as he tried to toe poke the ball out for a corner. It was unlucky sliding in, and then it went in, and I did smile. I mean, I do like Villa as well, and I quite like Watford. Watford took the lead with a goal from ex-Villa youth player and now Watford captain Troy Deeney. Now, when I was watching that, he said that's the goal. He'd always wanted to score against Villa at the Holt end. And I went and had a look, and I thought, oh, he played for Walsall. Maybe that's it. And I didn't. I went and had a look further back. He was a trainee at Villa as a kid. So maybe that's why he said it.
Born in Birmingham, wasn't he? I think
He started his career at Walsall, played his league debut for Walsall, which I think is meant more to him than the Villa fans. It was a good looping header, a late goal from Andrew Ayew, which he hits it. What did I say, Andrew?
Yeah, Andrew. He's at Swansea. That's his brother.
Oh, bless him.
I had to correct you, otherwise we get lots of angry letters.
I would do. I don't know. I've not even written down Andrew Ayew. I've just got from Ayew. I thought it's just terrible.
From Ayew with love.
Poor old Jonathan. So after a quick turn, it was pretty good. He got the ball on the edge of the box facing left, and he turned around, faced right, and put it in the bottom corner. Fantastic. Edge of the box to make it 3-2. It was a little too late, but Villa looked good. Yeah, I think Villa have got they've got what they might need to get out of there, because I think Newcastle are doomed. And I think Bournemouth will be doomed because of their lack of players. And I think Villa and Sunderland are looking like they might be able to climb their way out. So watch out, Chelsea.
Absolutely. We don't really need to talk too much about Leicester 1, Manchester United 1, because it wasn't the most exciting games. But we do have to touch on a certain Mr. Vardy. Banging his 11th in 11. You got some stats for us about the record breaker?
Not 11 in 11. I think it's 13 in 11,
13
isn't it?
11? Yeah, you're probably quite right. 11th straight game scoring.
He broke the Premier League goal-scoring record of 11 consecutive games. And he broke the record that was held by Ruud van Nistelrooy whilst playing it he did it for Man United, and now he did it against Man United. Super ball in from the right-hand side from Mahrez, who, if he is at Leicester at the end of the season, beginning of next season, I shall be very shocked, because he's having a fantastic play. He plays on the right-hand side, brilliant player. Currently, the top division record, which is Division 1, is 12 by Jimmy Dunn, playing for Sheffield United in 1931-32, and he scored 18 goals in that 12-game run. But there is another one, Stan Mortensen, for Blackpool in 1950-51 in Division 1. He actually scored in 15 consecutive games, but that wasn't 15 consecutive Blackpool games, because he was injured doing the run. So I think he played some, then he missed a few, then he played some. But for him, on the record, it would show he played 15 in a row, and he scored, I think, 18 in that run. But when I was doing a bit of research about this, I found that the bloke who holds the record was playing in the Japanese league, and I think he scored 30 games in a row, and he got 36 goals.
Ooh, well, that's
I'm doing that from memory, so I could be wrong, but that's the gist of it.
That's probably going to be quite tricky to keep up, I think it's fair to say. But give us, very quickly, just give us the rest of the results in the Premier League and the table as it stands, top 5, bottom 5.
Yeah, rest of the results is going to be Man City 3, Southampton 1. The De Bruyne show carries on, 1 goal, 2 assists, absolutely stunning. Then Spurs 0, Chelsea 0. I think half the crowd fell asleep by half-time, boring game. West Ham 1, West Brom 1. Battle of the Wests, both of them have had a good season so far. Norwich 1, Arsenal 1. Dire, the only game out that lot I actually watched all the way through, and I wish I hadn't. Absolutely dire. Arsenal are now down to 2 fit players, and Liverpool 1, Swansea 0. Now that means that Liverpool are up to only 23 points in 6th place. Spurs are 25 points in 5th place. Arsenal 27 in 4th. Man United 28 in 14th. 28 points in 3rd place. I only said 14th place. No, that's how many games they played. Leicester and Man City are joint top, but Man City are ahead on goal difference of 16. Leicester have only got 8. And the bottom, what do you want, bottom 5 or bottom 3?
Give us a bottom 5, just so we know where we are.
The very bottom is Villa on 5, Newcastle on 10, Bournemouth on 10, Sunderland on 12, just climbed out of the relegation zone, Norwich on 13. And going, by the way, Norwich played at the weekend with, is it Lewis Graben?
Yep.
He looked a bit special. Looks like someone's cut a hole in the back of his head to wind him up, because he had a big hole there. I don't know what's going on with that. I want to have a little peek. So I have no idea what that is, so I shouldn't really say. So they look good. He looks good. The entire team, apart from their goalkeeper, who I heard someone moaning, "That's the 5th bloody time I've seen him throw a ball out to the opposition." I don't know who that was. Do you know, Kris?
I have no idea.
Yeah, so there you go. And you wanted me to pick a game from next week?
Yeah, just one fixture to look out for.
Well, I think you wanted Everton Palace, and we were all talking about this before, and I think someone else said Newcastle Liverpool, and I think I'm going to go for Man United West Ham. Man United are in third place with 28 points. West Ham are dropping a little bit. They've had a bit of a bad run of form lately. They've only won 2 in their last 6. But if they win that, they could even make it into, and you said the playoffs. Then that's the wrong colour, isn't it? That's the UEFA Cup spot. Yeah, they could leapfrog over Spurs, but then they'd also have to beat Man United by 9 clear goals. So I don't think they'll be overtaking Spurs, even though they'll be on the same points. I think that's going to be an interesting game because West Ham are losing too many games at the moment, and their manager, whose name is the Croatian, I always got to say Igor Stimac. I don't know why I keep saying that.
At least he is from the same country.
Yeah, he will go and put someone on the pitch and beat them if they're not winning by half time. And Man United, they're just defensively solid, but they're boring the pants off of the fans at the moment. You can't have it all. Although it will be nice to see Sunderland get their 3rd win and their 3rd clean sheet in a row.
I'll tell you, pick one game.
A couple of quid on it.
Pick one game, he picks 4. Brilliant. No worries. So that Man United West Ham is the one for you. No problem. Okay, good stuff. Well, that's draw line into the Premier League then. We're going to take a little pop across the channel next as we go to the French League and Ligue 1.
Corner! Oh, quel geste! Quel geste! L'égalisation de Zlatan Ibrahimovic! 23e minute. Le 8e but cette saison du géant suédois. Et celui-là, c'est vraiment un but. Christophe à la Zlatan, l'extérieur du pied. Exceptionnel geste et égalisation du Paris Saint-Germain.
Oh, hello. Yes, that's right. It's not Chris's voice. That's confused you, haven't it? Yeah, it's me, John. As we've changed the format slightly, I will be hosting temporarily for this section. So, Kris, if you would like to tell me first about Friday's game, which saw Lyon host Montpellier.
Yeah, it was really quite a surprising game, to be perfectly honest. Montpellier, although their form have been sort of slowly creeping up, or better at least, they're actually unbeaten in 5 now, winning 4 of them. So they were kind of in form, but I think Lyon were be expecting to win this game, but they were 2 down in 11 minutes. Maxime Godelin's putting through his own net after 8 minutes. And the player that we mentioned last week, who certainly got big things are ahead, is the Chad forward Rodrigue Ninga. And he bagged the second goal, and Montpellier were flying. Alexandre Lacazette pulled them back just 3 minutes later, so it's quite a quick start, 3 goals in 15 minutes. But Ninga pretty much made the contest dead just 3 minutes after half-time with a super finish, and Camara taking advantage of some terrible Lyon marking, which was the theme of the night, really, to make it 4-1 after 80 minutes, and a late Ghazal free kick, a cracker, really. Pulled it back to 4-2, but it's a really poor result for Lyon, who, after their sort of Champions League exit in the week and really fell apart at home to Ghent, which, as you know, John and I discussed on the Satchel. It was, very, very poor result for Lyon, and they're slipping down the table as a result of that.
Yeah, was a surprise result, I must admit. I don't get to see as much French football as you, but I wasn't expecting that sort of scoreline from it. So next up, I'd like to ask you how Frédéric Antonetti got on, taking charge of his first game for Lille against the very in-form and perhaps surprising Angers.
Yes. Well, the answer is not very well. Mixed reports on Antonetti from Lille fans. But yes, they lost 2-0 to Angers. The former Arsenal forward Gilles Sunu, some people in the UK might remember that name. He put Angers 1-0 up on 20 minutes. And it was a second from Traoré, and the game seemingly was dead after 25 minutes. Lille looking pretty toothless, pretty idealist, and just pretty poor in truth. Their day was capped off quite nicely when they had Civelli sent off on 68 minutes for a pretty reckless foul in truth. Straight red. He was gone, as was Lille's chances. They've got a lot of work to do if they're going to haul themselves out of trouble. They're really sliding down the table. That's 3 draws and 2 defeats in the last 5, which on the face of it doesn't seem like bad form, but they've got no goal scorers, very little creativity, and are likely to lose players in January. So I think it's fair to say that Antonetti's got quite a big job on his hands there.
Yeah, sounds like it. Another game that I picked out was Toulouse against Nice. Partly one because Nice have been in such decent form, this has been a bit of a revelation, but also because I hear Gigi Donnarumma has got a contestant for best young goalkeeper in Europe.
Yes, indeed. Not quite as big, I think it would be fair to say, but Toulouse, we talked on last week's pod, Toulouse have been in all sorts of problems and not really getting goals, second bottom, just really kind of out of form. So I'm not really sure what anyone particularly expects is coming into this game, but there was a shock on the team sheet, as you rightly alluded to there. At the start of the game, they had a 16 16-year-old in goal. Alban Lafont is his name. He was born on the 23rd of January 1999, which makes probably all of us feel quite sick. But he got his first start, and who would have thought it, but he also kept a clean sheet. Toulouse's first clean sheet of the season. Now, it has to be said, Toulouse were helped by a former Team of the Week member. Nice goalkeeper Hassan was sent off on 29 minutes for, if you go back and have a look at it, just a terrible piece of goalkeeping in truth. He was dismissed. And yes, that didn't help the situation. And Martin Braithwaite notching the penalty for Toulouse to put them one up after 31 minutes. And then Wissam Ben Yedder, who I'm a particular fan of, I just really like him. 58th minute, he got what was to prove the decisive second goal. But it was really all about Lafont and him sort of coming in out of completely nowhere. He didn't even have a shirt number at the start of the season, but he got his chance. He took it with both arms, and first win in several weeks now for Toulouse, which is something for them to build on. They will hope. For Nice, very very rare, didn't even score a goal. So yeah, it was a very very interesting game.
Yeah, impressive performance from him. Julien Laurens was talking him up this week. So expect some big things from a young man. Next up, Danny's Khan, doing very well this season, up in second place. How did they get on against Bordeaux?
Yeah, Caen were superb, to be perfectly honest. I think Bordeaux were very bipolar. 1 minute they're very good, next minute they're just terrible. This week they were terrible at home. They had a really good performance in the Europa League against Liverpool in midweek games. We touched on the Satchel, and everyone thought, oh, this could be the start of something. But that was very quickly extinguished. Ben Youssef putting Khan in front after 6 minutes. Damien De Silva, the centre-back, who had a really good game. He got the second on 56. Comical Carrasco on goal to make it 3-0 on 61 minutes. In fairness, he was a bit unlucky. It came off the post, hit him and went in, but it was quite comical defending. And Delort making it 4-0 after 77 minutes, and Bordeaux fans were not happy. Crivelli, who is one of the bright spots for Bordeaux, got a goal back late on. But I think it's fair to say the Bordeaux fans were not impressed. Biogo Poco was also sent off, so that's yet another player that they can't call on in the coming weeks. And yeah, just an all-round really bad day for Bordeaux. But Caen, on the other hand, they're flying. I mean, every time you think they're going to drop off, they just go and win unpredictably again, and they're up to second. So good result for them.
Yeah, unbelievable to think the position they're in. If they can keep up that form, you never know. Maybe Europe next season could be amazing.
Yep.
Last game I wanted to highlight was the 6-goal thriller between Marseille and Monaco. I'm going to hazard a guess that Michy Batshuayi might have got on the score sheet somehow.
You would be right. Yes, he didn't get all of Marseille's goals as he usually does, but he did.
I was going to say he got all 6, to be honest. But
we could well have done. This was just a completely unpredictable mental game. It really was. Monaco are quite famous for not scoring many goals. Well, that went out the window. And Marseille are usually quite famous for having no backbone and rolling over and dying. And that didn't work either because they came from behind on each on the second and third occasion. So they went one up. Romain Alessandrini put them in front after 12 minutes. But then 2 goals from a right back. Yes, you heard that right. A right back for Monaco got Monaco in front of the game. They've got a young right back who's played 8 games this season, Alame Toure, and he scored with 2 really well taken goals, in fairness, to put Monaco in front 18 and 39 minutes. But then the man himself, as you say, Batshuayi, the man they rely on at Marseille, he got them level after 51 minutes before Fabio Contrao, remember him from Real Madrid, scored with probably the most slow motion header you've ever seen. It was just really bizarre. Dropped into the far post past Mandanda, and that was 3-2 to Monaco. Seemed like the points were off to the Principality, but Nkudu, who's been one of Marseille's better performers, cropped up with the 82nd minute equaliser, got Marseille out of a hole. They're still not convincing anyone, least of all me, but they are slightly higher in the table after that result. And yeah, I guess coming from behind twice when the game looked up has got to be a positive for them.
Yeah, not too bad. So I'll just leave it to you then to round up the rest of the results in the league and hand back over the hosting duties.
Thank you very much. So the rest of the results, PSG, well, you'd be surprised to know they won. Real shock. They beat Troyes 4-1 on the afternoon game on Saturday. One notable thing from that game really was the first Ligue 1 goal from Jean-Kevin Augustin. He got on the score sheet for PSG. Zlatan and Cavani also on the score sheet. Zlatan's back heel flick for the first goal was, for the first goal, for Cavani was fantastic. So have a look at that. But also look up Ayes's goal for Troyes, last minute, absolute cracker. Elsewhere, Nantes 0, Bastia 0, less said the better. We've covered Gazélec, Ajaccio and Lorient 1-1 draw. Ram versus Rennes, that ended 2-2. Particularly look out for Jeremy Bogger's goal for Rennes. It was, if it had been scored by Barcelona or Real Madrid, it would be on every social media platform going. It was a fantastic, really brilliantly crafted goal. So have a look at that one. St Etienne beat Guingamp by 3-0 in the other fixture. And where that leaves Liga, or PSG, I think it's fair to say they're probably going to win the league. 41 points top. The nearest rival is now Cannes, 28 points in second place. Angers continue to surprise everyone in third on 26. Lyon on 25, and St Etienne make up the top 5, also on 25 points. And then the bottom 2 remain Troyes and Toulouse. Troyes pretty much gone on 5 points. Toulouse with their win this weekend, massive result, 12 points. Lille only just above them on 14. Bastia and Gazélec Ajaccio sit 17th and 16th respectively. And just because I'm sure everyone wants to know, Marseille are now 11th. So that rounds up Ligue 1 for you. Right, so let's now take it across to sunny Spain, shall we, and see what's going on in La Liga. So yeah, let's take a trip to Spain.
Toca también Rubén Bezo, le llega Di María centra el remate. ¡Golazo! ¡Golazo! De Cristiano Ronaldo.
Okay, so Tom, what's been going on in sunny Spain? I'm going to start by asking you to tell me a little bit about Atletico Madrid and a certain French striker.
I bet you can't guess what the score was.
Oh, would it have been 1-0 by any chance?
Oh, it was. Yeah, third time in a row now for Atletico Madrid. It was a game I thought Atletico Madrid would dominate, to be honest. Espanyol are pretty poor in terms of attacking prowess. But, yeah, that Frenchman, Griezmann, he's got to go in the 7th minute. It was a nice little deft flick. Oliver Torres got done well to get past the Espanyol defence and put a cross in. But there was a bit of a debate going on whether it was an own goal or not. But I think he done excellently to flick the ball through the defender's legs and into the bottom left-hand corner. It's his 4th goal in his last 4 Atletico matches. He got 2 against Galatasaray in the Champions League. I don't know what to say too much about where the Atletico go from here. They're really lacking in terms of attacking vice and really trying to get a grip and killing off games rather. In terms of Espanyol, they're going to be sitting mid-table. They are a mid-table La Liga team. I personally like them, and as I can't help but talk about him, Asensio was probably their best player in the game. Little bursts of creativity and pace throughout the side was their only real spark. But it's probably a bit worrying. Well, Atletico can't finish off matches.
Yeah, they had the chances though, didn't they? I did see a lot of that game. It was really bizarre.
I think you had a bit of a bet going on that went a bit wrong.
Oh, I might have done. Don't bet, kids. It's a mug's game. You did warn me. Malaga. Now this game was a bit nuts, particularly for one of the goals. I vaguely remember being a bit crackers, but Malaga 2-0 up and ended up drawing 2-2 with Granada. 2 late ones, one from an ex-Blackburn Rovers forward. I seem to remember. What happened in this one?
Well, it started off as I thought it would. I thought Malaga would win the match, personally. They're playing at home, and it's one of those games where they really knew they needed to step up. And Charlet put out their top scorer this season in the 45th minute with a great header from a great cross. And then it went a bit weird. In the second half, Desaulniers got sent off in the 53rd minute for two yellows, but the yellow was utterly wrong. He appears to step on the player. I can't recall who it was. He recalls to step on the player, but it's a complete momentum that takes him into it. And it's not a harsh or dangerous, and it's just his toes that he stepped on, and somehow that's warranted the second yellow. But then they scored. They went 2-0 up, 4 hours. It was a really odd, kind of spectacular sort of finish. The keeper saved the initial shot, and then it kind of an acrobatic on the floor kick from Fornals cannoned into the back of the net to put Malaga 2-2 up. And then they were holding off as they do, but then they never seemed to quite hold on enough. The Daniel, like this, the former Caen striker El Arabi, got the 83rd minute equaliser with a header. It was a game of headers, actually, because in the 86th minute, Rashina also scored a header to equalise. Both teams then had chances to win it in the last few, but they couldn't compete. So it's a result that neither team really wanted, to be honest. Both teams needed a win to try and get them up the table, but they just couldn't muster it.
Yeah, I remember Roshinase barely played for Blackburn, but I do remember that when they signed him. So, and I think I'm right in saying Tissone used to play for Mallorca. I think I'm right in saying.
Yes, I think you're right.
There you go. Sad like that. I remember these things. Celta Vigo and Sporting Gijón. One thing I've got to say in this game. Tell us just a bit about the winning goal from Nolito. This was bizarre and quite fluky.
Yes. So. It's in the last few minutes, and Gijón, I want to get the pronunciation right at one time, but
you call it whatever you want.
Yes, so Gijón, I'm going to go with this time. They needed to get a result in this game, really, to keep them pushing up the table. When in the last few minutes, after drawing 1-1, a ball is played through to Nolito, and it's not going to reach Nolito. But Queller, who in the past I've given quite a few plaudits to because he's a decent goalkeeper, decides to run out and absolutely smash the ball, which is fine normally. However, he decides to boot it straight at Nolito, in which it cannons and rebounds straight off and flies into the back of the net. And Nolito runs off as if he scored and won the World Cup, to be honest. But it was a weird game. Orellana put Celta Vigo 1 up. Also bad goalkeeping again from Queller, so not helping me out there at all, are you? But yeah, that was a simple goal to finish from him, an open one after a little flick inside, and then Castro equalised. Also another goalkeeping error from the Celta Vigo keeper, kicked it straight at Castro, and Castro all that to do was finish, and then Nolito scored. But it's good to see Celta Vigo back again, and then when I move on to the table, you'll find out where they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of bizarre goals, there was a hat-trick for Aduriz as Athletic Club or Bilbao, whichever you prefer. They went away to Vallecano, won 3-0. Particularly impressed with the first goal. The first minute, and the goalkeeper just went walkabouts. Where on earth was the Vallecano goalkeeper going?
Well, if you want to know, if there was ever going to be a team where the goalkeeper would be doing that, it would be Rayo Vallecano. They just, it's all or nothing. That's what their manager believes in. It is literally like, we're either going to win by loads spectacularly or get absolutely hammered, but probably score a couple in the process. It's probably John's version of Sampdoria at the moment. Spectacular amount of goals in the games, but no real end result. But no, Aduriz bagged a hat-trick, the first one, as we've just talked about. Keeper comes miles out. He just gets to there first, flicks it beyond him, it's an open goal. And then he got a header to finish off his last, and the second one up was a penalty for his second goal. So I've probably done that in a really wrong chronological order, but there you go. And Bilbao continue their good form, and it's good to see because I'm a big fan of Bilbao and their methods of the players they use.
Yeah, it was, and obviously Aduriz sort of just showing that he is a journeyman striker, but certainly knows where the goal is.
Certainly one Del Bos needs to start being less stubborn about in his Spanish side.
I agree, totally. Where does that leave the table, and also, of course, give us all the other results and anything notable from the other games?
Okay, so the one most noticeable out of all the rest of them was Sevilla and Valencia. Sevilla won 1-0. The left back Escoredo got the goal, and then Nuno, the manager, decided to resign. He actually just made that decision before the game, and a certain someone you will recognise may be taking over during the next game. Eibar lost 2-0 to Real Madrid at home. Bale and CR7 got the goals. It was a pretty lacklustre performance, but another win for Real Madrid. Getafe surprisingly beat Villarreal 2-0 at home. Lafita and Vázquez with the goals. Las Palmas lost 2-0 at home to Deportivo. Cani and Perez with the goals in that game. Barcelona continue their winning form. That's now 14 goals in 3 games. Neymar, Suarez, Neymar and Messi is the order of goals in that one. Then the late kickoff on the Friday night was a pretty dull game between Levante and Real Betis. Ruben Castro got the winning goal early on. Great play from a corner and a great finish into the bottom right hand corner. But what is special about this game is the miss from Davison. It's incredible, and I really recommend you go see it. Can you remind me, Chris, who was it was back in the Premiership, someone absolutely cannoned it onto the crossbar from an open goal, and I can't remember. Danny might know.
Ronnie Rosenthal, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, or Kanu, who missed from a yard.
This is easier a finish than that was, and he cannons it back onto the crossbar, so it's quite hilarious. In terms of the table, the top half, all the top 3 won, so they're still Barca, Atleti and Real remain in the top 3. Celta and Deportivo overtook Villarreal, and so that's fourth, fifth, and sixth. Down at the bottom, Malaga's draw lifts them above both losing teams, Las Palmas and Levante, and Granada remain out of the bottom three by 1 point, and the Getafe team are leapfrog Gijón, Real Sociedad, and Vallecano to go 13th.
Good stuff, good stuff. And yeah, I would highly recommend looking up that Suarez scissor type volley thing.
Oh, very nice, yes.
Absolutely superb, yeah, good stuff. Super, thank you, Tom. As always, if
Fixtures
anyone...
next, do you want to see?
Yes, of course. Sorry, I've shot early there, haven't I? Yeah. What was the one game to look out for next week?
Yeah. So just a bit quick mention in midweek it is Copa del Rey time. There's only 4 matches between Premier League sides, and none of them are the big boys. And the fixture to look out for next week, I am going to go for Valencia against Barcelona and managerless, and it's a pretty much nothing to lose game for Valencia. So that'll be interesting.
Absolutely. Before we leave Spain, you just touched on it there. Valencia, what's going on? Who's taken over? How's it all? What's going on there? It's a bit.
Okay, so basically, after Valencia lost to Sevilla, the decision was taken for Nuno decided to resign before the match, and that came into effect. And now, as a lot of people know, Phil Neville is actually the assistant manager at Valencia at the moment, and him and the experienced Gonzalez are going to be taking over the midweek Copa del Rey game. So I'm interested in how that goes. In terms of candidates, there aren't too many because there's a rule in La Liga about if you can't manage 2 La Liga teams during one season. So that I don't know where they're going to go. That AVB has weirdly been mentioned because there's things going on at Zenit at the moment. But it'll be certainly interesting to see who comes in. And personally, Phil Neville isn't going to take over. He's just not experienced enough.
No, I must admit I didn't think that would be a long-term solution somehow, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see, I guess. Right, okay, let's move on then. Thank you very much, Tom, as always. Just the one league to go, and we'll head over to Italy. Okay, so this week in Serie A, John, it is up to you to go through Serie A. Let's start with Torino and Bologna. This was the Saturday evening game, the first fixtures of the weekend, of course. And a goal from a huge talent who hadn't scored until this game. What happened there?
Yeah, it wasn't the greatest game ever, but first goal for Torino for Andrea Belletti. He was signed from Palermo for, I think it was €7.5 million in the summer. His first goal for them, and a really good goal as well. There was a suspicion of handball in it, but he took it down on his chest and then turned and volleyed a really tidy finish in at the near post, actually completely sold the keeper and sent him the wrong way. It's first home win in 2 months for Torino now. Giuseppe Vives scored the second goal for Torino late on in the game. But it was really sort of the game highlighted what Bellotti can do and how exciting he is, and a lot of hype around him. He's a 1-in-2 striker at the under-21 level for Italy, and he's played through every age group. So there's a lot expected from him. So obviously, it's still early days for him. And also Robert Dernadone's first defeat as Bologna manager. So not the greatest game to watch, but just the name to pick out of someone you'll probably read more about as the seasons go on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Giuseppe Vives' goal as well. Very cute angle he took that from, and his performance might have earned him a spot in a certain team coming up shortly. Speaking of players who might have made team of the week, talk to me about Milan. They beat Sampdoria by 4-1. Pretty conclusive, really. They're starting to look the real deal, and a certain Frenchman had quite the performance in this game, didn't he?
Yeah, Mihailovic, who'd been under pressure all season, and Milan had started to get some form. He changed the formation. He went to a 4-4-2, and he gave Niang a rare run out. He was on loan last season, and he seems to have matured. And as he's come back to Milan, he's really taken this chance because they've got a few injuries with Balotelli and Menez and a few others being out injured. So he got played up front instead of as a wide man, as has been previously, and he stole the show. He was superb. He got 2 goals, one from the penalty spot, one in open play. He also set one up for Bonaventura, who also had another excellent game. Luis Adriano got the 4th goal. Nice little chest control in the box and volley down. But Milan's starting to look more of the part. And the best thing for them is the fact that they are now going to start getting key players back from injury. Menez is going to is going to be back soon, who gives them another option. Alicia Churchy, who had a bit of a bad time, let's be honest, at Atletico in Spain, has come back to Serie A and really found his form again. He's playing really, really well. Gigi Donnarumma had an interesting game. He did concede one goal, but right at the very start of the match, it's strange to say he grew up watching Manuel Neuer as his idol, as Neuer's so young. But as Donnarumma's only 16, it's understandable. But he decided to control the ball and then sort of wait to see when he was going to pass it out. Obviously trying to emulate his hero, Neuer. He maybe waited a little bit too long and did a really poor clearance, which Roberto Soriano, got off a great shot that Donnarumma then actually had to leap back across his goal to save. Sampdoria's goal came very late on, where Andrea Poli made a really clumsy challenge on Eder, who stepped up to score the goal. But Milan certainly not out of the title race. I don't think you can discount them now because of the way they are playing and with the players they've got coming back in.
Creeping up. It's kind of good to see in a weird. Even as an Inter fan, it's good to see like the Inters, the ACs, and the Lazios. Well, Lazio probably less said about them, the better, but the big clubs, shall we say, rising. So we'll keep an eye. Speaking of big clubs, though, that are certainly not rising, fresh off of a spanking midweek to Barcelona, how did Roma get on at home to Atalanta? I suspect it wasn't such good news.
Yeah, not the greatest game ever. Some strange things before the game because Wojciech Szczesny and Rudiger were both dropped, which I think it was just sort of Garcia trying to make a point about the defensive displays. I don't think you can really blame Szczesny for letting in 6 goals against Barcelona when the rest of the team don't do anything to help you defend. But they ended up losing 2-0 to Atalanta. A really good finish from Gomez, but for the first goal, a really nice curler from outside the box, but it came from Lucas Digne just giving the ball away in a terrible position. And then late on, Maicon decided to bring down Jeremy Dennis, who scored the resulting penalty. He also got sent off for that. But Roma's problems have continued. They've had these all season where defensively they haven't been solid. They've had inconsistent back fours. They don't really look like they've got a comfortable pairing at the moment. Their midfield looks good when everyone's fit, but again, that's been an issue. And the real big problem is up front that not only is Mohamed Salah out for a long-term injury, Gervinho's now also picks up an injury as well. So they've lost that sort of speed they had up front and that counter-attacking speed. And the pressure just continues to mount on Rudy Garcia. Eusebio Di Francesco, the Sassuolo manager, is now being tipped as a possible replacement because of how well he's been doing the last few years at SAS. And Garcia is certainly real under serious pressure now.
Yeah, 3 red cards in that game as well. The one for Standardo was a joke. I watched that game.
Yeah, the first yellow card was a little bit soft, and then they give the second one for a handball, which I'm not sure how they give that, so he gets sent off, and then Grassi gets gets his second yellow in stoppage time. So Atalanta did finish the game with 9 men, but yeah, I mean Roma just again going forward, they still had chances and they still created opportunities, but they really missed Gervinho and Salah, and they just have to get that defence sorted out. But there's just no confidence in Garcia at all. And whilst Ancelotti isn't at a club, his name's always going to be mentioned because Roma fans really want him as a manager. And as I said, Francesco at Sassuolo as well was really being tipped.
Yeah, a lot of talk that Rudy Garcia might be back in Ligue 1 before the end of the season, so we'll keep an eye on that one. Let's cover tonight's games. Tonight being Monday, there were 2 games that affected the top of the table tonight, so we're kind of coming in at the back end, so we might be a bit brief on this. But Sassuolo, Fiorentina ended up in a 1-1 draw. Flaccari getting the equaliser in that game, and Napoli and Inter 2-1 Napoli. Just give us a quick summary of those 2 games and where you sort of think that leaves the title race.
Good, decent result for Sassuolo, who've been really impressive this season. Early goal for Fiorentina from Borja Valero, always get that wrong. Decent crossing from Milicic, and Giuseppe Rossi, who got a surprise start, actually fluffed hitting the ball when Valero came in for the tap-in. Sassuolo were missing Berardi, who started his 3-match ban from the red card in the previous game. But yeah, decent, really good bullet header from Flaccari, and decent performance for SAS. It's really, really tough at home to get anything out of that Sassuolo team. So they keep marching on. No, I'm sorry, I'm not going to sing this week. I know everyone wants to hear me sing the Nera Verdi song again, but that's the 3rd draw in all competitions for Fiorentina now. And yeah, Sassuolo are actually still unbeaten at home in the league. So great performance there. The Napoli-Inter game, as an Inter fan, obviously I was really excited about this. Unfortunately, the first half, Inter didn't turn up. Napoli certainly did. They were superb. Higuain scoring within, 70 seconds. Just Jose Callahan running through, and it looked at first, I thought Callahan had flicked the ball on for Higuain, but Higuain basically nicked it off him and said, no, I don't need you. I'm going to take the ball and take it around the defender and rifle it into the net, really showing the form he's in. Napoli just controlled the midfield all for the first half. It was superb. Nagatomo ended up getting sent off, 2 yellow cards. The first was a little bit soft, but he didn't have a great game against Callahan. The second was definitely a yellow for a really stupid challenge on Alan, who was superb in midfield. Then Napoli scored a second. Gonzalo Higuain again. Raul Albiol just a simple header upfield from a really poor clearance from Handanovic. And Murillo and Miranda just completely out of position and gave Higuain far too much room. He just outpaced and outmuscled both of them, and another tidy finish. A little bit of a reprieve for Inter in that Adam Ljajic scored a decent goal. He's probably one of the Inter's best players on the day. Really showing some of his talent weaving through the box. Decent finish. And then the last 10 minutes was really frantic. Inter piling on all the pressure and hit the post twice in stoppage time. Jovetic bullet header, thought was definitely going in, bounced back off the post. And then Miranda with a header as well after that, which Pepe Reina palmed onto the post. And they managed to get the 2-1 win. But Napoli were definitely holding on, despite the fact Inter were down to 10 men. So a decent comeback in terms from Inter, from going down to 10. But Pepe Reina also set a new record for the longest clean sheet in Europe during that game. 534 minutes without conceding a goal in Europe, up until Adam Lajic's goal. The previous record was held by Manchester United's David De Gea, who had it at 500 minutes.
There you go. That's a stat for you. You're right. When Inter, I watched that game and I was convinced that second goal was going in.
Oh yeah, I mean the Jovetic header was unbelievable. As soon as you saw him jump for it, it's like, oh yeah, okay, 2-2.
Yeah,
and just unbelievable.
And the way Napoli, particularly Reina, celebrated the final whistle suggests that could be a very big result.
Yeah.
Where does that leave the table then? And give us a game to look out for next week.
Okay, so the rest of the games, Juventus just cruised to a nice, comfortable 3-0 win over Palermo. Carpi got a nice surprise victory over Genoa. Stupid red card for Genoa in that game. Player deciding to elbow one of the Carpi players in the face in front of the referee. Udinese, nice 3-2 win. And Empoli as well beat the out-of-form Lazio 1-0. Frosinone with another win, 3-2 at home against the very still winless Verona. Raphael getting sent off Verona in the first couple of minutes probably didn't really help. Just on news quickly on Verona, unsurprisingly, as Verona haven't won a game 14 games in, Andrea Mandolini has been sacked now. We knew it was coming. Eugenio Carini is favourite for the job, who's actually a former coach and player of the rivals Chievo. But the league, as it stands, let's just bring it up here because I did have it up and now it's disappeared. Apologies. Napoli are now top with that win over Inter. They're on 31 points. Inter on 30. Fiorentina on 29. Roma on 27. And Juventus creeping back up on 24. Sassuolo and Milan are both on 23. So decent performance from them. They're still really tight at the top. Still wide open. And down at the bottom, Verona are now finally bottom, 6 points. Carpi have leapfrogged them on 9. Bologna on 13. And Frosinone have pulled themselves out of the bottom 3, now on 14 points.
Good stuff, good stuff. And just to tie up Italy, if you fancy two ludicrous sendings off, look up Raphael sending off for the elbow for Verona, as you mentioned there. That was just absolute stupidity.
Yeah, there was a couple of really bad, stupid red cards.
Was it the other one that you mentioned in the car?
Yeah, that was in the Genoa game, yeah.
And the player himself, who got sent off, he knew, didn't he? As he ran off, he sort of looked at the crowd and sort of held his hands up. And
yeah, he just went, "Oh, I really shouldn't have done that against the team we should be beating." And then, well, look what happened. Genoa then go and lose the game, and Carpi get themselves a good 3 points.
Yes.
For games next weekend, there is, like Tom said, actually, there's Italian Cup midweek, but most of the big teams aren't in it yet because it's still the 4th round. But this weekend, Lazio are at home to Juventus on Friday night, which should be a very good game because Lazio really need to turn their form around and Juve are on a bit of a roll at the moment.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Should mention, as this is terrible, terrible planning, but as you and Tom have said it, I will mention also there is Liga midweek games, and I didn't give you, I didn't give you a game to look out for. I kind of did. It's actually the Lorient game. If there's one game to look out for this week, is as I said, the top two scorers in France. They meet actually today, as it will be Tuesday when you probably hear this. So this evening, and there is also a full program which finishes up on Wednesday. So there is a midweek Liga program. So there you go. So sorry, that's my fault. Hold my hands up. Right. Thank you very much, John. Let's now take a trip to a couple of other places around the world. So let's get the best from the rest of the world.
Pato! Gol do São Paulo!
Right then, let's see what's going on. I'm going to kick us off with my Kris's MLS update because we have a final, boys and girls. Last night saw the conference semi-finals wrap up. The Columbus Crew were playing New York Red Bulls and the Portland Timbers playing FC Dallas. The Timbers, let's focus on them first of all. They have made the final. They drew 2-2 away at FC Dallas. They were 3-1 up from the first leg. The second leg 2-2. They went in front through Addy's goal. Ryan Hollingshead and Perez with a late salvo. Looked like it had turned the game in Dallas's favour. They were right on the up, but then pushing hard for a third. They very nearly got it. It was all going off once again. These playoffs are just incredible. But a late Milano goal and a really clever goal where he just sort of dribbled down the touchline around the goalkeeper and knocked it in. Superb footwork to get the late equaliser and sealed Dallas's fate. So the Timbers are into the final, and they will play, thank you, Danny, and shout out to Nova Rock there, one of our followers. They will play the Columbus Crew, probably against the odds, realistically. They went from the first leg 2-0 up from the home leg. They actually lost 1-0 at the Red Bull Arena to a very late Abang header. Oh, it's a great name, isn't it? Abang, fantastic. But he got the late. It was a really kind of scrappy affair, and Columbus Crew really should have scored at least 2, maybe 3 goals and put this game to bed, but they didn't. It was 0-0 until the last minute. Abang scored, and then literally with the very last 2 touches of the game, Bradley Wright Phillips really should have equalised, and we are talking the very last second of stoppage time, which would have got the goal, which would have taken the game to extra time. Frantic finish. It was drama all the way, as these playoffs have been. But the Crew hung on, and they will host the Portland Timbers in the final because they have a better goal difference over the regular season, which means they will have home advantage in Sunday's MLS Cup final, and that is obviously on the 6th of December, this coming Sunday. And stay tuned. Obviously, we will be across that final come next week. Right, let's go across to other places in the world and see where we're going. Excuse me, John, give us an update on what's happening in Mexico.
Well, I'm not going to lie, I don't often watch Mexican football, so this was interesting researching this. But we are into the semi-finals of the playoffs for the Apertura. If you don't know, in Mexico they split the championship into 2 championships over the season, and the top 8 have a playoff for the trophy. It's kind of like what happens in the MLS, sort of similar. I think they have it in a few Scandinavian leagues as well, that kind of thing. But it's Club de Football America face off against Pumas UNAM. I'm not going to say their full name because I'll get it horribly wrong, in one semi-final, and Tigres are facing off against Deportiva Toluca in the other semi-final. Those games will take place from the 4th of December over to the 7th. If listeners are sort of thinking about what players to look out for, they might have heard of Andre Pierre Gignac.
Ah, the Big Mac.
Yes, the Big Mac, who's just recently got himself back into the French national team, actually, with his performances in Mexico. He's currently playing for Tigres. He scored a wonderful bicycle kick against Jaguars, I think it was last week. Really, really good goal. Sadly, one of our listeners, who is at Aldrian CG, he's got one of our Hipster handshakes. He follows Puebla FC. They lost in the quarterfinals to Toluca. So commiserations to that, Aldrian. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. I'm not sure when the finals are. I haven't got a date for them. But Club America are one of the big clubs. But with Tigres in the other side of the draw, I'd tip them to get through to the final, definitely, and to have Big Mac to have a big say in the outcome of that.
Yeah, it's quite a fun league to follow, actually. I've watched a few bits and bobs. I can tell you, if you like, that the semi-final. Did you cover the semi-final dates? The 4th?
Yeah, semi-final dates are the 4th to the 7th. The the home and the away legs. It's a 2-leg affair, like in the Champions League.
Yes.
They're played over that period.
Good stuff. And then usually, I think it's usually like a week's break, and they're back onto the next fixtures. So we'll keep an eye. We've got so many leagues to cover. Right, let's move across now. Where should we go next? Tom, why don't you give us an update on another South American venue? What's going on in Chile?
Well, did you just call Mexico South American? My geography mind is getting stressed.
Kind of in that neck of the woods. Near enough.
Oh,
I will get a lot of hate
about that. You'll get a lot for that.
Absolutely. Sorry, South America is not Mexico's not in South America, but it's
I'm sure you said south of America, as in directionally below America.
Brilliant,
That's
Danny.
what you
Thank
meant.
you. That's exactly what I meant. Move
That's
on.
even worse.
Go on, Tom.
Right.
Well,
so
like Canada is north of America. Everyone talks that way,
Oh,
obviously.
What's that all about? Anyway, Chile, Tom.
the Primera Division. So this has got to be some of the best named football teams I've ever. And after doing the Polish league, I'm still going to struggle to pronounce them, as Drew is now cursing. So in first place at the moment is Colo Colo. So he
Strong
loves it.
start.
It's Colo Colo. 11 wins and 3 losses. They're sitting on 33 points. In second place is Universidad Católica. 10 wins, 2 losses, 32 points. And third place, which is one of my personal favourites, is Universidad Concepción. That was more French than Spanish. I don't know what I did. 8 wins, 5 losses, 25 points. Down at the bottom in 16th place, and probably I'm going to go second favourite, is Antofagasta, which is 1 win, 8 losses, and 8 points. They're looking pretty stuffed. 15th place, San Luis. That was also French. 4 wins, 9 losses, 13 points. And 14th, Union La Calera. 4 wins, 9 losses, 14 points. So top scorer in the league is Marcos Riquelme with 9 goals, and he plays for Palestino, who sit in 7th currently. And just to wrap things off, because I'm not a massive expert on the Chile league, I'll admit. My personal favourite thing about the league is you have all the names I've just said, and sitting in 7th place is a team called O'Higgins, which is brilliant. So that is the Chilean league.
The bloke who set that up was actually Irish. And he was, if you look it up.
To be sure.
Because most teams in South America and Mexico were set up by British colonials.
There you go. You won't get that.
There's a big Welsh town, isn't there, in Chile as well? A lot of Welsh speakers in Chile.
See, you won't get that information
Also,
on other podcasts.
probably a few Germans there as well by now. No? Anybody?
In
History?
Argentina,
No?
there will be, yeah.
So what we're basically saying is there's different people all over the place.
And Tom, if you struggle, because I know I did with the Mexican teams as well, my technique for trying to learn how to pronounce them is if you watch Narcos on Netflix, you trying to get the twang of the accent. So just trying to tell you Tigres' full name was just, yeah.
Hold on, you thought I struggled?
Universidad.
or if you're really struggling, just follow Universidad de Chile, which is quite an easy one. And you're all right. Oh, yeah. Good stuff. Okay. Speaking of butchering names, I'm sure this man will be absolutely perfect at these. Drew, what's going on in Turkey?
Oh dear, yeah. So I'll just run through the scores real quick and table. Gaziantepspor lost 1-0 home to Istanbul Basaksehir. MP Antalyaspor drew 1-1 against Osmanlıspor FK. Rizespor drew 0-0 against Konyaspor. Bursaspor lost 2-1 at home to Kayserispor. Sivasspor drew 2-2 at home against Istanbul Basaksehir. This is the tough one. Eskişehirspor won 3-2 against Mersin. Then Gensler Birligi.
Gençlerbirliği? Yeah.
Yeah, 2-2 against Gaziantepspor. Beşiktaş actually lost 2-0 at home against Akhisar Belediyespor, who are actually the surprise package sitting in third, above Galatasaray actually. And the aforementioned Galatasaray drew 2-2 on the road against Kasımpaşa, and that was the first match of the third tenure under Mustafa Denizli. So there you go. Also for the table, real quick, Fenerbahce. I'm sorry, actually I forgot. Fenerbahce played today. 1-2-0 at home against Trabzonspor, so that puts them top of the table on 30 points. Beşiktaş in second with 29. Akhisar Belediyespor sitting third on 25, and Galatasaray fourth on 23, tied with Istanbul Basaksehir. And bottom of the table, Sivasspor in 16th on 10, and Mersin, and then Eskişehirspor are tied on 7 points. So there you go. And top scorer in the league is one Samuel Eto'o.
Oh, good old Samuel. You know who's throwing his iPod or generic fruit-based device at the floor right now? Is Ahmed. He's got his head and his hands going off, for Christ's sake.
I've
Here
got
we go.
zero experience.
Yeah, well, kids, the best thing to do is if you're a journalist and you want to cover the Turkish league, make sure you can say the word spore because it's very important.
And trust me, we're working hard to get somebody on who knows the Turkish. So we'll sort this out. I promise. Right, save the best for last, Danny. What's going on in Denmark? And don't say it's cold.
Hej to all our Danish listeners, including Danish Freddy, who we all know and love. Okay, I've been asked to do the Danish League. They are halfway through their season, and it's tight at the top with Copenhagen on 32 points, Aalborg on 31 points, and last year's champions Midtjylland on 31 points. There is only one relegation this year. Last season there was 2. Still only 12 teams in the league, and that's currently held by Hobro in 12th place, and they are 6 points behind Esbjerg. But they're probably doomed. I think Esbjerg played tonight, and I think they lost, so they could have had a bit more of a gap there. But yeah, they look doomed. Top goal scorer is 21-year-old Lithuanian Lukas Spalivas of Aalborg, and this is his 3rd season there. Last season he scored no goals. This season he's got 14 in 16. Hey, give them time, they will shine, as no one ever says. Copenhagen, which are top of the league, are managed by ex-Cologne and Wolves manager and renowned madman and mentalist Ståle Solbakken, who is looking for his 6th Danish title if they manage to stay top, because I think he won 2 or 3 titles with Copenhagen, and then he went away, and then he come back again and won it, and it looks like he might win another one, so that's very good. My Danish team, if anyone cares, Brøndby, are 5th, and I follow them because of John Jensen, the ex-Arsenal midfield goal-scoring legend. I was there the day he scored against QPR, if anyone cares.
So was I.
So there you go. Were you?
Yes.
I remember seeing you.
No, you don't.
You had your boat and a pirate hat on.
I was about 6 at the time.
Yeah,
maybe
I
not
was
quite
about
that young.
6 as well.
1995 was it? Or 1995.
It was New Year's Eve, 1994.
Ah, there you go. Good
So
stuff.
in December the 31st,
I've just been
94.
born.
Oh, shut up. Get back in your cradle.
I just want to tell you, by the way, Danny, Esbjerg did indeed lose 2-1 to OB this evening.
Oh, there you
So
go.
there you
So
go.
I looked that up as breaking news, people. And again, to all our Danish listeners, Hej.
Good stuff. Did you do the table? Sorry.
I was too busy saying Hej.
Ah, good.
The Danish table. Yes, I did. But then I closed the window that had the Danish table in it.
Copenhagen top, AAB second, Midtjylland third,
said all that.
Sunderskjeg fourth, yeah, Hobro bottom. Okay, good. Fantastic.
Yes.
Superb. See, I should learn to listen more.
You should do.
Anyway,
Listen back later. I always do.
of course. Right, okay. Thank you very much to all our panelists. As usual, any questions you've got for any of the leagues, drop our individual hipsters a tweet or drop the podcast a tweet, and we will do our best to answer that. Right then, let's move it on and do this week's Hipsters' Choice. Right then, this week's Hipster's Choice. He's already been mentioned. Can you work out who it is yet? Well, I'll tell you who it is. This week it is AC Milan's French striker Mbaye Niang. We have got some information for you on this young striker. So, born 1994, June the 4th. That makes him 20 years of age. He was born in Moulins-en-Avenies in France. Don't say that when you've had a few. He's 6'1.5", dead, apparently, I'm told, and roughly weighing at 165 pounds. He wears number 19 for AC Milan, and he is a customer of Nike with regards to his boots. He's a winger/forward. His full name, Mbaye Bakar Niang. He's a French professional footballer playing for AC Milan. Plays primarily as a forward, though his influence can extend out to the wings and attacking midfield positions. Small town he was born in France. It's it's northwest of Paris, on the banks of the Seine, and he's born to Senegalese parents. He's kind of a sort of cross religion there. It's actually cross nationality is the correct terminology. My apologies. He played for his local team Bassin Le Murau in 2001 to 2003. before joining Poissy, a French 4th Division club, say that carefully, with whom he played between 2003 and 2007, although he generated a lot of attention because he was 5'9" by the age of 13, so in the Donnarumma school of height there. Some thought he was claiming to be younger than he actually was. We've heard that a few times, but he wasn't. Although he's being scouted by clubs such as PSG and Lille, he actually joined Caen as a youth, and he was in the academy at 13 and excelled, moved quickly through the ranks until he was the age of 15, when he actually ended up playing for the under-19s. And ahead of the 2010-11 season, he made his debut for Caen reserves in the Championnat de France Amateur League, and after 6 games, he was the league's top scorer. Excuse me. On the 18th of February 2011, Niang actually signed his first professional contract, agreeing a 3-year deal with Caen. Now, despite all his hype, Niang had a relatively unimpressive and eventful few years with Milan when he finally got the big move. Although you do need to keep in mind his young age. He went on loan to Montpellier, and he made 19 appearances and 4 goals last season. And he also joined Genoa, making 14 appearances with 5 goals between 2014-15. But he only managed to find the net twice in 36 appearances for Milan. It was after his loan spell with Genoa last season that he started to find his form. And in July, his reinvigoration was all but confirmed as he agreed to a new contract extension, tying him to Milan till 2019. And it's also been reported that Milan actually rejected several offers from both England and France for his services. And in his first 3 appearances for Milan this season, he played 231 minutes, scoring 2 goals, both ironically in John's aforementioned win over Sampdoria at the weekend, providing 1 assist in the game as well. And he's got an average shots ratio of 3.3, pass success percentage, thank you, is 71.4%. Many saying that this could be his breakout season. A couple of other bits and bobs. He's represented the French international side at under 16 and under 17 levels before being called up for the under 21s, where he's made 3 appearances and scored 1 goal. And despite being banned in 2013 for visiting a nightclub and breaking a curfew, which leads us nicely onto the comparisons he has with Mario Balotelli. However, he has also had his fair share of controversy in his young career. This is one of the best ones. In addition to breaking his curfew in that nightclub, he was also caught driving without a license in Milan, and he reportedly told police that he was actually his teammate Bacare Traoré. That's a good way of getting out of something there. And the president at Montpellier, Louis Nicolan, who's had his own fair share of controversy, had some serious words for the young Frenchman, telling reporters in goal, "I've told him that if he continues to act like a 19-year-old, he will not always find somewhere to fall back on." Wise words. And final bits of information. And Bayern Niang's, after scoring 2 goals against Sampdoria, was quoted as saying, "I'm very happy, as it's what I've been waiting a long time for a night like this." He said, "All the hard work has paid off and I hope to continue. I like to play as a centre forward, but I prefer to play anywhere in attack, as I can keep the ball in front of goal, but I can also help on the wings, as I have already done." He also went on to thank Mario Balotelli, who said he'd sent him a text after the game to say feel great after having a hard work in training. So that's Mbaye Niang. Now, I just want to pick on a couple of you just to give your thoughts, because only a couple of you have really seen him. John, obviously you saw him at the weekend. What do you make of him? I know it's hard to judge on one game, but do you think he's got what it takes to be a success in Serie A this season?
I think this season, certainly, the way Milan are playing, and if Mihajlovic decides to keep with the 2 up front, which he has played previously, even when he wasn't playing 4-4-2, he was playing a sort of diamond formation. He's got great technical ability. He shows some really good skill and some great turns and invention on the ball and things he can do with it. I can understand the Balotelli comparison because of his height and his physical stature for such an age. The way he took the penalty that he scored was very Mario Balotelli, and actually said in commentary that he'd been learning that from him in training, because he just did that sort of casual walk up that Mario tends to do. He's a bit more exuberant in his celebration than Balotelli is, though. He's talked about and been talked about for a long time. So if he can keep putting in consistent performances this season, it's not only what he can do for Milan, but it's the chance of him maybe being one of those names going to play for France in the Euros next summer. So there's a real opportunity there with what's happening currently with the France team, with Benzema and everything else, with the Valbuena blackmail allegations and everything else. So there's going to be spots and opportunities there for him. So I hope he takes it, because he's a really exciting player. and I hope he stays in Serie A because he really brightens the league up, and we're getting more of them sort of players now in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. Tom, obviously you follow the Austrian league, which is sort of more of one of the hipster leagues, and Niang is one of those that sort of come from a relatively unknown position in the league to being a future star. Do you see him potentially breaking into the Euros? Do you think he's got what it takes?
Oh, breaking into the Euros would be extremely difficult, in my opinion, what France has got. Although they do have a bit of a French striker who's in a bit of trouble at the moment, so they might need to bring backup through. If I was going to put money on it, I personally wouldn't see him at the Euros, but I think he can have a successful season for sure. I mean, I like strikers who are pace as well as quite well built and quite tall, because they got a lot of things going for them in terms of brushing off defenders to get through and whatnot. So I haven't seen too much of the guy. I saw his goals against Sampdoria, and he took it very well. And it's quite a plethora of strikers they've got available at AC Milan. So it's good to see that he's competing his way to get into the starting lineup.
Good stuff. And Drew, just finally from you, he's a player I actually think style would suit the Bundesliga. What do you make of the bits and bobs you've seen of him?
I actually probably agree with that assessment, but for me, I mean, I don't know. Like you brought it before, he's only featured 3 times this season. You know, he's played before through loan spells and whatnot, but he still really has yet to sort of solidify the hype that has surrounded him for so long because he's so young. So I think maybe sort of this season, if he does keep getting those chances under Mihailovic, then we'll see. How he pulls through. But for me, the thing I don't like about him real quickly is that I think he just seems to be so similar to every other young forward coming through. You know, they all like to play center, but they can go out on the wing if they want. They like to dribble, they like to cut inside. It's maybe if he can somehow bring something different to his footballing Dazi that sets him apart, then maybe that's what will help get him to the level where he needs to be or wants to be and what people expect of him.
Yeah, fair assessment, and I'm a big fan. I think he's got the swagger to do very well, and the comparisons with Kingsley Coman are quite interesting. So there you go. That's our hipsters choice this week. As always, we shall put some information up, bits and bobs, and if there's anything that you want to ask, or if there's anything that particularly tickles your fancy, just drop us a tweet, and we will do our best to answer anything you have. Okay, right. So draws a line into that. Let's now move on to our team of the week. Right then, team of the week. This is where I get the opportunity to pick 11 of my favourite players this week, or players that I think have justified it. So let's cue the music and get into the team. So in goal this week, we have gone with Lukas Skoperski. I'm probably pronouncing that terribly, but the Empoli goalkeeper, keeping a clean sheet in his side's 1-0 victory over Lazio. He makes the team of the week in goal. Our back four consists of right back Dani Alves, just getting in ahead of Touré from Monaco, who of course got 2 goals, but 2 assists from Dani Alves. Just about notched it purely on the basis that they were fantastic assists. Really good crosses, setting up both Neymar and Suarez for their goals versus Sociedad. Damien De Silva makes history with the Football Hipsters. It's the first time that we have ever had a player make Team of the Week twice in a row. So he gets in for his goal and pretty much faultless performance for Caen's 4-1 victory over Bordeaux. Javi Martinez, the Spanish centre-half at Bayern Munich, rock solid for the second week in succession. Fitness is the key for him, but he's looking good. He was a stellar performer in a 2-0 win over Hertha Berlin. The forwards get all the attention, but he was very excellent in that game. And the scorer of the winning goal from left-back for Sevilla, Escudero, he gets in and he continues to improve for Sevilla, actually starting to look the real deal at 26 years of age. He makes it into the left-back slot. As far as midfield, we touched on it earlier on, but Juventus coming away 3-0 winners at Palermo, and Stefano Sturaro was probably an unfashionable name at the start of the season, but he's forcing his way into the Juventus midfield more often than not these days. He scored the second goal late on for Juve in their 3-0 win and was generally superb pretty much throughout the game. He's joined in midfield by Giuseppe Vives. This is the man who scored the second clinching goal for Torino. He kind of ran Torino's midfield versus Bologna. and just put in a stellar performance. I think he's one of these players that goes very heavily under the radar, but just continues to impress me every time I see him. So he's made it in. And also one for Drew, Nediem Amiri. We mentioned him again earlier on in the early roundup of the Bundesliga. He scored and was fantastic for Hoffenheim. And boy, do they need players to step up in their fight against relegation. So he gets in. He's only 19 years of age, and to score two and set up another was superb. Future German star. And Bai Niang, not really much more we could say. We've pretty much covered it in the last segment of the Hipsters' Choice, but he ran the game, was superb. 2 goals and an assist, and man of the match for Milan in their 4-1 victory. Yannick Bolasie. Danny touched on Crystal Palace's 5-1 thrashing of Newcastle. He scored twice in this game in the 5-1 victory. To be perfectly honest, when he's in this kind of form, playing at this level, I think he's pretty much unplayable. And if Crystal Palace will do pretty well to hang on to him at the end of this transfer window, as you can pretty much expect some quite large bids coming in for him, and consistency is very much the key. And our final player to make Team of the Week this week, we needed a big centre forward. We needed a man who's going to get goals. So we've gone for Athletic Bilbao's Aduriz, scoring a hat-trick, or Aduriz, I should pronounce it correctly, scoring a hat-trick versus Vallecano, a header, a penalty and a right-foot finish. Despite he might have a little bit of a lack of pace and he might look a little bit ungainly, but the one thing that you can pretty much always guarantee with Aduriz is he's going to get you a goal. And Tom touched on it earlier on. He is certainly one to keep an eye on to make potentially the Spanish team for the Euros. So there you go. That is this week's Team of the Week. As always, tweet us your thoughts. Disagree with us, agree with us, whatever you fancy. We don't mind. Just tweet us your thoughts. And that will, of course, be tweeted out so you can have a look at it on a lineup. And we will put it on our website as well. So there we go. Right. Just the 2 segments to go. And let's now go to your questions as we go to the onion bag. Right then, onion bag. We've had lots of questions this week, but in the interest of time, we're going to just skittle through them as quickly as possible. That's not a knock on your questions, boys and girls, but we don't want to bore you forever. So, first question I'm going to ask is going to go to Tom, I think. This was a question I believe you had from Instagram, of all things. And it's a question that was asked, why do you think Sevilla have struggled in the Champions League?
Quite simply, they're in a very tough group. First of all, I mean, there's some team called Gladbach. I've never heard of them personally, no. But yeah,
Quite you.
Gladbach, Juve, and Man City. All that group. Man City have beaten them twice. Juve have beaten them.
They beat them once. Their next game, Seville, are at home to Juve. Last game of the group.
Okay, and Gladbach.
Gladbach, we lost away. That was when Gladbach were awful, and then
3-0, yes.
Yeah, yes. We don't need to talk about that.
Yeah, so they've got results, but ultimately they've been put in a group which is very difficult. They're on a perplexing season this year, quite bipolar, beating the likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Valencia, and then losing to teams like Las Palmas. So it's quite a weird season. They haven't really been able to cope from the step up from their normal Europa League extensions and to, which is normally quite criticised when you think about Europa League being criticised for affecting league form, but the Champions League seems to be doing it more so. So that's more like the reason is the quality step up and the fixtures coming thick and fast in La Liga.
Fantastic, super duper. Do you want to give that person credit, by the way, that Instagram? I didn't get a name, so
I'll leave you to it at the end.
I'll leave you to look it up. No worries. Okay, Drew, question for you. This one comes from Sasisbiri, who's at _Sasisbiri. He says, I'm not sure if you do Eredivisie questions, but is there any chance you see Frank de Boer managing at a bigger club? If you can keep this short, because I know you'd love to talk for hours on this one.
I would. I think so. He's got a wonderful ability to blend youth production with spending to supplement what he has through the youth pipeline. At Ajax, obviously, historically, they have the best youth system in European football in the last 50, 60 years or whatever. But he does know how to spend when he needs to. So for me, I feel like he's done well at Ajax for 4 or 5 years now. I think it's time he leaves Ajax. Actually, he's a player who had such a brilliant playing career, and I think if he wants to have a managerial career to potentially at least match that, then he needs to move on from the Eredivisie. I could easily see him in Germany. You could also easily see him in the Premier League, maybe even La Liga. You never know. But I feel like he's smart enough, he's technically aware enough, and he knows how to maneuver in the market and not spend a lot of money to bring in talent. So we'll see where he goes. But I think he could make it in one of the bigger leagues for sure.
Good stuff, good stuff. And Tom, thank you. Ramzan at Hassan Ramzan38 was the person who sent that question in about Sevilla. So thank you, Ramzan. Danny, question for you. Good one, this one actually, from a friend Mario Rivas, from one of our.
And you don't tell us these in advance, do you?
No, I don't know. I don't tell you these in advance. I hit you with them.
It's easy.
Yeah, well, it's one that you'll appreciate. He says, Goal España came out with an article ranking Lionel Messi as one of the greatest of all time, which I agree with to a certain extent. But can you really compare him to the greatest of all time, e.g. Maradona and Pele? And he says also on a side question, I'll just ask you, Maradona or Pele?
That's easy. Maradona for me. All Pele did was score goals. He scored goals in an era where you would regularly see teams go score 100 goals a season. I think back in that day, my team, Peterborough, scored 140-something goals in a season. And you'd regularly see teams, in fact, back in the day, many years ago, see teams scoring and conceding 100 goals in a season. Goals were much easier to come by back then. Refereeing was almost nothing, and so you could cheat your way out of it. You saw the amount of times that Pele got kicked and shoved around the pitch. Then once he realised he should do that back, he went on a massive scoring spree, didn't he? He was one of the greatest players ever. But I've seen Maradona play live. I've never seen Pele play. And can Messi be compared to those lot? I suppose any player can be. You can compare apples to oranges if you want. It doesn't mean they're the same thing. But I reckon Messi's skills and his ability to run the game, to ride tackles, to score. He scores with free kicks, and well, he used to score with penalties, not so much anymore. And just to score goals in general, I reckon you could slot him in any of the greatest teams of all time, and he'd do well. But whether he would be able to take the constant elbows to the chops that you used to have to take back in those days. You look how often Pele got injured from being beaten up on the pitch. Yeah. So I don't think he'd cope back then with the physicality of the game, but maybe his silky skills, he may have got a season or two. But yeah, I think definitely Maradona the best for me, because his all-round game was more. You could rely on him for a handball when you wanted one, and he was a good party boy.
Yeah, good stuff. Good answer. That. Thank you. I knew you'd do me well. Okay, quick one for me. This one's from Brian at Donaldson_Brian. He says, in Liga, what is the biggest derby match? Well, what I've done, Brian, it's really hard to identify, and most people pretty much will all say Le Classique, which is PSG versus Marseille. But just to be different, I've pulled out two other random ones for you. There's the Derby de Rhône, or the Derby de River, whichever you prefer, which is Olympique Lyonnais versus St Etienne. Bitter rivalry. It's not actually technically a derby located on the Rhône River, but nevertheless they kind of fight for who owns that part of the country. So it's a real bitter rivalry. That's definitely one to watch. It was recently played, and Lyon came out 3-0 winners in that game. And another one for you, Le Choc d'Olympiques, which is French for Clash of the Olympics, and that is Lyon versus Marseille. Another one, not exactly bitter rivalry, but they don't like each other much, I think it's fair to say. And there's kind of a rivalry between... It's kind of more of a competitive rivalry between the players, the managers, the supporters. It's not exactly a bad blood rivalry, but nevertheless, I love the name. So there you go. That answers that one for you. Right, another question there. Let's give this one to John. Comes from Jimmy R at NN_Aguna, and he wants to know, question for you, as a resident Bundesliga hipster / John, if he's on, Gladbach fan, I'm going to give this one to you, John, because I've got another one for Drew. He says, pretty much all season, Torgan Hazard has been brought in around the 75th minute, give or take 5 minutes. Do you believe he has the potential to make a breakthrough as a star like his brother did, or is he destined for mediocrity?
He's not as good a player as his brother, and I don't think he'll ever be. He's a decent player and he's got some skill and ability, but I think he's probably at the level that suits him and his style of play. The issue he's got at Gladbach at the moment is that Traore had been playing so well, he's now actually injured, so Hazard might get more of a chance. But as Dermot's got his first goal, then maybe they'll actually play with a centre forward now, which they hadn't been playing for before, and Lars Stindl playing so well. So it's less that Hazard isn't good enough to get into the team, it's just that everyone else is playing so well. it's a struggle and he can only really affect things off the bench. I think the Bundesliga suits him. He could probably do well in Serie A as well. I don't think he's not the sort of player you'd probably see in the Premier League. But yeah, like a sort of a good, exciting player to watch in a Europa League side, I would say.
Good stuff. Okay. Drew, just a brush up on your Turkish knowledge again here. Incoming. Goral Patel, who's, I think, a new listener, at Goral Patel. She wants to ask, it's kind of a two-parter, but I'll put it together, if that makes sense. So, how can Galatasaray's new coach, Mustafa Denizli,
Yeah.
there you go, add consistency and stability back into the squad? And she also wants to know, who do you think's the league's most underrated player of the season so far?
Oh dear. So I mean, he wouldn't be new to Galatasaray. This is his third stint as manager there. His first managerial posting was Galatasaray back in the early 80s, I do believe. So he'll understand the culture of the club already, obviously. So he won't have to sort of bed in that regard. But I feel like Galatasaray's biggest issue this season for me, it's not been goals. They actually are tied for the most goals with 30 with Besiktas in the league, but they leak a lot of goals. And in particular, their last three league performances, I think they've let in 9 goals, which is half their total conceded all season long. So 10 matches in, they only allowed 9, 13 matches in, now they've allowed 18. So I think his biggest concern will have to be getting the back four in order. And also, I know a lot of us might debate this, or maybe not. He has to get the best out of Fernando Muslera in goal, which might be difficult because for me, I think he's a little bit overrated. But I think before he was brought in, they were relying on the wrong defenders a little too often. Jason Denayer is there on loan, and he's doing well. Semi Kaya is doing well. But Sabri Serioglu is still playing. Maybe a little too often. He's getting up there in age, and Hakan Balta, same thing. So maybe he'll put a little more faith in some of the younger players. Maybe reinvigorate them from a physicality standpoint and energy. Maybe that might help. Just my 2 cents there. And in regards to the underrated player of the year, Doug Lau, actually, at the surprise package, Akasir, we'll just go with that for now. This team sitting in third place, they have the second best defensive record in the league, and no one really put them up there for fighting for a top 3 or 4 place. At the moment, he's probably been the best center back in the league, and at a club that's much smaller than the big 3 there. So I would go him. He'd probably be a little more underrated. And shout out to Ozjakub, who we all know.
Yes.
He's been doing well this year as well. He's actually tied for the league lead in assists with Gökhan Torre and Wesley Sneijder. So there you go.
Good stuff. Shout to Fernandao at Feyenoord, who's keeping Robin van Persie out the side as well. He's been on fire this season. So a little nudge to him. And I really like Muslera. I always have. I don't know what it is.
You mean Fenerbahce?
Fenerbahce, sorry, Feyenoord. I'll get my F's mixed up. Terrible. Yes, Fenerbahce, you're quite right. Oh, brilliant. Can't edit this out. It's all live. Okay, good stuff. Thank you very much. And as always, we appreciate new listeners and new questions for new leagues. So keep them coming. Let's go for another one. I'm going to save the funny one for Danny for last. John, here's one from you. Tom Shelley. Serie A question. Who looks more viable for the title out of Inter, Roma, Napoli or Juventus, who are creeping up?
Well, Napoli are top, and their performance tonight was very good. Although Inter I was surprised how much they came back into it, despite having 10 men. But Napoli showed that they can defend as well as score goals and play exciting football. And Juve, you just cannot discount. I know they're 7 points off top now, so they close the gap a little bit, but they've just got the players and they've got the form and they know how to do it. I still don't think Roma will. I just think they've got something in their heads. It's some sort of psychological issue that they just don't seem to know how to finish seasons off, even when they go on a good run. And Inter, as much as I'd love to say they can win the league, I think they're just missing 1 or 2 players to be able to do it.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, 3 very quick ones left because I don't like leaving people out. Mohammed, who's at 4MOE or 0E, he wanted to ask me, he's obviously an Arsenal fan, he said, should Arsenal keep tabs on Adama Traore of Monaco? I'd love to see him at the club. Your thoughts? Short answer, Mohammed, is he's very talented, but very unproven. He's raw, he's young, powerhouse, big, strong midfielder. I do think he'll probably be in the mould long term of a Jeffrey Kondogbia, The good thing is, or you'll be happy to know, he's more technically gifted. He's much better on the ball. He doesn't panic in possession like Kondogbia often does. I'm sure John will testify to that in an Inter shirt. And yeah, he does look the part, it has to be said. But as I say, treat it with kind of kid gloves at this stage for a young player. He's only 20 years of age, so you've got to be a bit careful how big you pull these players up. He's from Mali. He's already got into their national side, so yeah, potentially very, very big. But take each step as it comes. He's only been at Lille in his previous career, and he didn't get a first team game for them. So gently catchy monkey. But yeah, all the potential in the world.
Or slowly.
Or slowly catchy monkey. Either way, whatever. I'm coming to you in a minute. One last question before I come to Danny, and this is from Ahmed, our friend at Gizaguna. It's another one for me. Sorry, guys. Are Caen and Angers legitimate top 4 contenders, or are they doing a Leicester/West Ham? Danny will disagree. But
how dare you?
I know, but I don't think Caen and Angers are legitimate top 4 contenders in truth. I think they will probably both be absolutely delighted to finish in the top 10, if I'm honest. But Ligue 1 is very open underneath PSG. It's very much an open league, and realistically, there's no team that are massively informed that are trying to claim those second and third berths, which is Champions League football, or indeed 4th spot, which is Europa League. If I had to put my head on the line, which I think I did last week on the pod, I think PSG, I think Monaco, and I think St Etienne will take the top 3 spots, and I think Lyon will take 4th spot, or at least a combination of those 4. But Caen and Angers, it has to be said, doing fantastically. Final question for you, Danny. It's a little bit of an amusing one, and I've edited it for the sake of PG. But our friend of the pod, a personal friend of mine, Dan Amador, at DMAMADor, he says, you have to choose one. Would you rather make a mess of yourself every time you see a banana, or your rivals win the league?
I must just say that I am now a Liverpool fan, and so my rivals Everton will win the league. I remember the bloke's name who told me about that website, Jack Jones, at Jack M Jones 99.
Oh, there's a random thing.
Lovely man. Well, I'll forget later, won't I?
Thank you, Jack. So you
told him to listen, didn't I?
So you would rather that your opposition won the title?
Yeah, because I'm a Liverpool fan, aren't I?
Of course.
So I want Everton to win it.
Okay.
I mean, that means Everton are going to win the league.
I'll let the listeners decode that answer. Good stuff. Okay, brilliant. Well, that wraps up the listeners' questions. Thank you all for those. As I say, we'll do our very best to answer them all. We have had to take a couple out this week, but we'll try and get more in the future weeks. Try and get us on a quiet week. That's the best time to do it. All right, one final piece of information to give you, and that is this week's Hipsters Handshakes. Okay, Hipsters Handshakes this week, just the 3. Breaking news, people. Breaking news. I've just had information from our technical department, nod to Kat, that last week's Hipsters Handshakes have been added to the website. So they are up. So any of you that were saying they haven't done the Hipsters Handshakes, they're now live. Fantastic.
Are you saying that right now we've just had a note passed up from the technical department who are busy working away as we speak? I
am actually confirming that 100%. And I can also confirm that at Nick Davies, at Danny Roberts 5, and at Dan Arsenal have also got Hipster Handshakes this week. Dan has selected Mönchengladbach. Sorry, John, but he, you can join him. It's fine.
That's okay. It's another Gladbach fan.
Exactly.
That's good with me.
Danny Roberts, good old Danny Roberts. He plumped for Nantes from the French league, so he's got them. And Nick Davis, he's keeping it British. He's gone for Brentford. So there you go. Those
Still
3.
no Salzburg fans. What is going on?
I know. It's anyone would think it's a niche league, Tom. It's a tough one. Okay, and we've just had further breaking news. We've had one last-minute late question, and I want to answer this question because it's another one for me. And it's from a loyal listener, PG Nez, who's always been very kind about us. So just very quickly, he wants to know who will be sacked first, Willy Sagnol at Bordeaux or Hubert Fournier at Lyon? If I had to answer you, PG, I will answer you. I think Fournier is in real trouble at Lyon because Bordeaux have really got no other option but Sagnol. I don't think they'll replace him. Fournier has been at Lyon for a little while, and it's all on the downward spiral, and I think they'll lose good players in January. So I think Fournier. There you go. Brilliant. Superb. Right. Okay. Housekeeping before we get out of here. Thursday. John, what are we posting on Thursday?
We've got a special little satchel episode. There is no European football, so you might be a bit confused, but it's an interview with a friend of ours, Mr. Jason Schrader, talking all about the North American Soccer League.
The NASL. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, Jace works with the Carolina Railhawks, so he has first-hand experience of the NASL. So I conducted an interview with him. It's around about 40 minutes long. So we'll release that on Thursday.
That's American Division 2.
It is, yeah.
But there's no promotion and relegation.
It's like the Championship in the UK for our UK listeners. But yes, myself and Jason sat down, had a good interview, and it was very, very good fun. And also, Tom, you are doing an interview on Friday, which will be released not next week, the week after. Do you want to give us a quick update on that?
Yeah, just a quick tease, but I'm sure some of you know, but I do like the Austrian League, and I've managed to get hold of someone I've been recently following and getting involved with his Twitter account, and that's Tim Armitage, who does some great work in terms of the Austrian League, so we'll be having an interview with him.
What are you going to do if he says he's never heard of Soriano?
Oh, believe me, he has.
Yes, I can confirm
punch him in the gizzard.
Can confirm that, yes.
And a certain Naby Keita as well.
And we will.
He's got a big future.
And we have reached out to other people, haven't we, Danny, for other interviews as well? So stay tuned. We will be announcing those if they get back to us. So if there's anybody you really want us to get on, obviously realistic, let's keep it realistic. But if anyone knows of any journalists or people who work in football you want us to get on, just badger them. Just constantly tweet them every single day until they finally agree because they're sick of you tweeting them. That's the way forward, bullying, boys and girls.
I can confirm I am stalking Florenzi to try and get an interview with him.
Fantastic. There's your mention for this week.
Yeah, because I hadn't mentioned him at all this week, so I had to get it in.
Superb. And also, we have Drew has done a blog for us, haven't you, Drew? That will be released not this week, but next week.
Correct.
Do you want to just tell us what that's about?
Well, it's comparing the rise of the Belgian national team over the last 4 years or so, in comparison to how poorly the Dutch have been doing lately, and what their training systems in-house, how that sort of is influencing that at the moment. So yeah.
And it's very, very, very interesting. So definitely read that one. And Korosh Musavi, who's a loyal listener, he openly admitted his English is not the best. So we said, don't worry about it. Send us a blog and we will tidy it up for you. We have done, and that will be posted tomorrow as well. So look out for that on our website. And it's brilliant, full of passion. There's lots of information to take in, but it's a really good read. Good stuff. And the final thing is thank you to you, the loyal listeners. And if you do like what we do here and you do want to give us, don't give us any money because we're not begging, but we would love an iTunes review. If you like what we've been saying on the pod, or if you like the pod, or if you just like us, drop us an iTunes review. It gives us an opportunity to get our name out there and sort of become accessible to a wider audience, if you will. We got left a fantastic and lovely review this week from Tartan Jeff. So please drop us a tweet.
Tartan Jeff.
Tartan Jeff, yes.
Is he the fourth Jeff?
You never know. It could be anyone. We have so many Jeffs, but
it was my dad.
Yes, Tartan Jeff. If you wish to remain anonymous, that's fine. But we really appreciate your very kind review, and of course Pixel Rapture, who left us our first review. But if you've got 5 minutes and you're bored at work and you have time, please leave us a review, and it'll get us a bigger following. So we really appreciate it. And thank you as always to Kelly, to Gaz, and to Kat as well for their fine work behind the scenes. So all that remains to be said then is, as always, keep your beard strong and your glasses trendy. And my thanks go to Danny.
It has been a cucumber-shaped pleasure.
Yes. Thank you to John.
Thank you, Kris.
Thank you to Drew.
Thank you.
And thank you to Tom.
I love Soriano.
Oh, God. Well, on that note, boys and girls, thank you very much for tuning in. Keep it hipster, and we will speak to you soon. Thanks for downloading and choosing the Football Hipsters podcast. Remember, you can follow us at the FH Podcast on Twitter, or our website www.footballhipsterspodcast.co.uk. You can also follow us on Twitter individually at AFCFreddy8 for me, Kris, or for Danny it's at @the_GFP, for John it's at JWelsh84, for Tom it's at TCanton94, for Drew it's at AFCBVB1410, for Jake it's at JakeArsenal1, for our producer Gaz it's at GazMadJones, and for our researcher Kelly it's at Kelly_Mayor. We'll speak to you next week. Hello and welcome to the Football Hipsters podcast. My name is Kris. I'm your host as always, and I'm joined by not one, not two, but 3 football hipsters this evening. Introducing to you first, making his return, it's Mr. Danny, the GFP. In evening to you, Danny.
Are you sure you're not joined by 4?
He is joined by 4.
For fuck's sake. Hello and welcome to the Football Hipsters podcast. It's a Monday, so we're back again. I am your host, Kris, and tonight I am joined by not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 of our Football Hipsters. Introducing to you first, making his return.
Kris, you're not joined by 4, you're joined by 3.
Oh, you fuck. Why did you talk then? I am joined by 4.
No, you're not. You are a person. You're not joined by 4.
I said 3 the first time.
No, you didn't. You said 4.
For fuck's sake.
What are you talking about? There's
He's
4 people.
joined by 4, Tom.
It's
I have
John,
got 4.
me, Tom, and